What's up, fantasy managers? Every year we pay close attention to second-year wide receivers because of the big leap in their skill. We will review 14 wide receivers in their second year from the 2023 season. And spoiler alert, most of them are busts. But you'll be surprised why. I know you're interested, so stick around for 7 seconds.
You can do it!
What's up, Zoners? This is Tyler, Big Turd Ward, and Jason, the lucky bastard Ethan Wilk, coming at you live from the West Coast. And this is the Fantasy Red Zone. We have a huge episode today. It is going to be a loophole. Bill Belichick would take advantage of this kind of shit, Jason. This is going to be an outlier year. We're going to go over the data. Everybody knows, Jason, that second-year wide receivers, break out at the highest rate. Everybody knows that in their second year, their sophomore year. But this was a weird year. We will go over that in a minute. But I'm just saying this, man. Stick around so you can take advantage of this. Draft some wide receivers, second-year wide receivers next year, because people are going to be afraid, man. They're going to be afraid. Jason, tell the public how they can help this show before we get into the data.
Yeah, if you made it this far, if you could please hit the subscribe, press the like. We like the likes. Leave a comment. Let us know. Did you have any second-year wide receivers on your team? Did they help you? Probably not. But we're also on the radio on Spotify, the Fantasy Red Zone. So check us out.
Okay, Jason. So let me map a wide receiver's career for you. Their rookie season is pretty underwhelming. And then the data point makes the biggest jump. Boom! The second season. And that keeps on gradually going up to their fifth season. Then it kind of plateaus, maybe gradually goes up, gradually goes down. And then by year 10, it's in the shitter. So we are focusing on that second year. Historically, over the last 10 years, Jason, that is the biggest jump. That is the wide receivers have the highest breakout rate out of any position in their second year. Then it goes wide receivers. Then it goes quarterbacks and then running backs, but at a much higher rate, wide receivers. So this year, Jason, this episode, we are going to go over this season's sophomore wide receivers and see how they performed. Jason, and let's start off.
It's important to know.
Dude, I mean, we focus on this every single season. I mean, I think it's been hit hard for like the last 3 years. That's, that sophomore wide receiver strategy is real. And Jason, can you, off the top of your head, can you think of some hot sophomores this season going into the year?
Garrett Wilson.
Yeah. And there was another one that was picked in the second round. What'd you say?
I was picking the second round.
In our league, your dad picked him.
Oh, man. It was like, Chris Olave. Yeah.
Chris Olave. The Olave Garden. Yeah. So those were the two most hyped, Jason. Those were the headliners for the season. But that's not the order we're going to be going in. We're going to be going in the order of which they were drafted into the NFL, Jason. And you should like this first guy. You were all pumped up when he got drafted. Dude, a USC wide receiver being the number one wide receiver off the board is a big deal for a USC fan. And Jason, let's see. He was his first season, he had 10 points per game. Second season, this last season, 11.1 points per game. And he had a bad season if you think about it. But that is an 11-point increase. He was drafted as wide receiver 31, and he finished as wide receiver 36. That was a net of -5. Jason, how did you feel about, Drake London's season?
Okay, so we went into this. He was kind of a hot topic. He was actually Tyler's fantasy MVP entering 2023, and at the time, that was a solid pick. Like, it was hard to argue that. You would feel like him going into 2023, he was going to definitely win you some leagues. Because the last 5 games in 2022, London earned 15.2, 12, 14, 9, and 18 points, and his targets increased to 12, 11, 9, and 8. And the key component to London's end-of-the-year success in 2022 was Desmond Ridder, who started the last 4 games. But the success did not carry over to 2023. In week 1, he didn't record a catch or only received 1 target. Did I say that right? Yeah. That was the start of his terrible year with 10 games under projected points. I believe his failure is due to his surroundings. Yes, I would like to see Drake London have a higher 2.2 average yards of separation, but the Falcons were a mess at the head coach and the quarterback this season. Desmond Ridder, he had 12 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. He had with a negative 1.4 completion percentage above expectation. And Tyler Heineke, 5 out of the 4, he was 5 touchdowns on 4 interceptions with a minus 8.7 completion percentage above expectation. That is straight up awful. These were his quarterbacks for the year. Plus, he's on a run-first team. So Atlanta is fixing their head coach. We see that because they already fired Arthur Smith. I want to see a change at a quarterback. And as of right now, I'm not drafting him before the 8th round, which I believe that's where he went last year.
Yeah, but you can see, like, there's so much potential here that was just, it was not his fault, like you said, Jason. So he should be getting this bump. I'm going to break this down real fast, Jason. So on average, for the last 10 years, 28% of wide receivers have leveled up in their second year. And to this article, level up was +6 ADP. And here we go. London was -5 in his ADP. But Jason, that number, that 28% goes up to, was it 42% if you are a good wide receiver? And a good wide receiver is above average in all these different metrics. Well, Jason, Drake London is a good wide receiver. He had almost a 50% chance, man, to outperform his ADP by 6 points, a 25% chance to outperform his ADP by 12 points, pretty much, or 12 ranks. That is insane, man. Like, so if you can get half of that next season with a different quarterback or something, dude, Drake London is going to be a huge value. So, and this was a weird year because we're talking about the good wide receivers, Jason. You just talked about Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, all these players that are good wide receivers. They have a almost, a 42% rate to just really break out, and almost an over 25% rate to be like a league winner, man. And there's 3 of these wide receivers that we're talking about right now that sucked due to things outside of their control, Jason. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there are some loopholes here, man, that might win you a league.
Yeah. Well, we got to see some changes. Like you said, like, how would you feel going into next season and they still had Desmond Ridder as a quarterback?
Yeah, no shit, right, dude? Next up, Jason, and just talking about, there's another good wide receiver that should have had a 42% rate chance to outperform his ADP by 6 or more. Garrett Wilson, man, he had 12.4 points per game. He was the second best rookie his first year, and then that turned into 13 points this second year. So that's an increase of about 5%. But yeah, not much when it's from 12 to 13 points, Jason. His ADP he had the highest ADP out of those sophomore rookie wide receivers. At ADP, he was wide receiver 10 because we all thought Aaron Rodgers was going to kick some ass. Well, Jason, I mean, he actually finished better than we thought at wide receiver 23. That is still -13 net value. We're talking about jumping up 6 spots, up 12 spots. This fool went in the opposite direction, Jason.
Yes. I had high expectations for Garrett Wilson with Aaron Rodgers signed with the Jets. I drafted Wilson at pick 14 or 15 in our league. As a rookie, 7 games with 13-plus points, 2 20-point games, and 1 30-point game as a rookie. And his quarterbacks were Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson, and Mike White. So now he gets a Super Bowl winner and a 4-time MVP, Aaron Rodgers. Like, give me some of that. I wanted some of that. I was really excited to get target him in the draft, and I got him. But Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles, and then Wilson had 11 games where he didn't meet his projected points. He is another wide receiver that was suffering because of his environment. At least his quarterbacks tried to get him the ball. Wilson was the 4th most targeted wide receiver in the NFL with 168 targets. That's 10 targets a game, but his catch rate was 56%. This is due because his catchable target rate was 67.9%. That is 65th in the league. This means 68% of his 168 targets weren't catchable. Just imagine the possibility of Aaron Rodgers throwing a catchable ball to Wilson 90% of the time. I'm still aiming for Garrett Wilson in the second round, and I believe we have not seen his final form.
So there you go. People out there, that's the one problem with Garrett Wilson next year. I'm talking about Drake London, how he's going to be a steal because people thought he was shitty and all this stuff anyways. Garrett Wilson, man, people still believe. You just heard Jason being like, I still believe in Garrett Wilson. The hype is still going to be real around Garrett Wilson with the amount of targets he got. So, yeah, man, it's not like you're going to be able to take advantage of this, outlier year for Garrett Wilson. Everybody knows why he did bad, and they're going to want him again next season.
Well said.
Because I was going to say, right, Jason? I know you want him. And you and you traded him away for, what'd you say, a bag of balls? Or no, you said a bag of, what did you say earlier in the year?
Like a bag of dicks. I traded him for Jalen Warren in his prime, though. So
yeah, but somebody commented, and you're all, I traded him away for something. I was all, fuck, man. Okay. All right, Jason. So Garrett Wilson got traded away for a bag of dicks this year. Next year, he will be worth more than that. So, all right, man. Next up, this was, dude, like the number one performing rookie wide receiver. I think I picked him up. I think I had him on my team because I remember being pissed off when Jameson Williams, when Jameis Winston got taken out for the Red Rocket, Jason. But Chris Olave, man, 13.1 fantasy points per game his rookie season. He got drafted in the second round in a lot of leagues. That went up to 14.4 points per game for PPR, which is still good, dude. But that's an increase of about 10%, so from 13.1 to 14.4, that's reasonable. That's not a breakout or anything like that. But the problem is where his ADP is to his finish, Jason. So his ADP, he was drafted as wide receiver 12, man. Finished as wide receiver 20. That is a -8. That is the opposite direction that we are supposed to be going, man, with the good wide receivers. I'm telling you, it is insane. The top half of this graph, this table, all the good wide receivers are in the negatives, Jason. This is terrible.
Right. Yeah, Chris Olave was the highest scoring second-year wide receiver with Derek Carr and Jameis Winston as quarterback. And Olave was 12th in targets for wide receivers with 138 targets on the year. He averaged 8.6 targets a game. His average separation was 3 yards, and his average targeted air yards was 13. So his route runs took him past the sticks, which is great. His yards after catch is above expectation, was -0.3, which you don't want to see that because that means he's kind of leaving points still on the field. Olave had a very low floor this year. In week 4, he scored 1 point, but he also had 20-plus points in week 10 and week 16. 7 games under his projected points, but 5 of those games are between weeks 1 through 8, with only 2 games under projected points in the last 8 games. So he kind of finished like on a hot streak towards the end of the year. Because there are times that Olave feels invisible in games when Derek Carr is quarterback, I still like to wait till round 3 to draft Olave and likely get like the same result.
Did you see me saying 3, or did you come up with 3 by yourself?
I came up with 3 by myself. Did you write 3 on the board? I can't even.
No. I was holding up 3 when you were all, I was like, man, I was like 3rd round. Cause like, if you think about the wide receivers want, like, I don't want question marks in my first 2 picks. Like once we get to Olave, man, I got some goddamn question marks. Derek Carr.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
yes,
exactly. But no,
yeah.
I didn't see it. I had my notes up. So I'm glad we're on the same page.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, man, because my number 1 question was, how do you feel about him next year? But you literally just agreed with me, and without us even knowing, Jason, I've been missing you, Jason. I've been missing you, but hey, we still are on the same wavelength at least.
Yeah.
I tell my wife, I look at my wife, and I'm like, I miss Jason. All right, Jason had another kid. Now he's all choosing that bitch over me. Just call my kid bitch. No, man, it's a figure of speech. I'm the first one, dude, to call your kid that. He's an angel, Jason. I'm just kidding. All right. Moving forward.
At least with you, I don't have to take care of you.
Yeah. Dude, if you want to, like, I'll bend over. You just hose me. I'm tired of wiping my ass. Okay. Jason, here is up next is the wide receiver with the largest jump in fantasy production, Jason. 123% increase in fantasy points per game. Oh my God. This was another first-round wide receiver, Jameson Williams. Jason, sometimes you forget, dude, that Jameson Williams was taken in the same, like, I think it went Garrett Wilson, Olave, and then Jameson Williams. So Jameson Williams should be as good as Olave and Wilson on that Lions team. Oh my God, it would be insane. But he went from 3 fantasy points per game his first season to 6.7 fantasy points game his second season. So that is a 123% increase. Problem is, though, that is misleading. 58. He was drafted as wide receiver 58, dude. He finished as wide receiver 82. He was just only good for a couple splash plays. He is not. You'd rather have Josh Reynolds on that team, man. So negative 24, Jason. Jameson Williams is just never going to break out.
Well, okay, Tyler, I got some stats for you here. Tell me what you think about it. So he did miss most of 2022 with the ACL injury. Well, he did come back. Okay, so he came back and played 6 games in 2022 from an ACL injury. And because of his suspension in 2023, he also missed 6 games. So he has only played 18 games. And he is in year 2, but he has only played the rookie amount of games. Does that make sense?
Good point, Jason. But I do want to say...
He is a player who relies on big plays.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say real fast, Ben Johnson was talking shit about him like halfway through the year. And that's part of the reason I dropped him, Jason, because, I traded for him. And then he's all, Jameson Williams is a long ways away from having a major role on this team. And I was like, motherfucker, dude. So I just kind of got scared after that. But continue on.
Okay, so he had 5 games under projected points, and that's great. And Williams had 7 games over projected points, but only 2 games under 10 points total. So it's like his projections on the year for each game were actually pretty low. Because he actually had no games over 15 points. I think he kind of mentioned that about his scoring. But Williams averaged 2 receptions a game this season. But my 2024 outlook is, I believe he will do better next year. But with Sam Laporta, Williams is the 3rd or 4th option on the Lions offense.
Yeah, the wrong dude emerged. Sam Laporta's taking all of Williams' points, not to mention got Jahmyr Gibbs over here catching balls. So, it's almost like the 49ers offense. There's almost just too many weapons developing there.
Yeah, exactly. Well said.
All right, Jason, here, next up, one of our biggest disappointments, I know this, Jahan Dotson, man. This fool was lighting the world on fire. 10.9 fantasy points per game his first year. And then Sam Howell was throwing 400 yards a game, dude. And Jahan Dotson wasn't seeing shit. He had a couple good games here and there. But yeah, he dropped off 30% of production, man. And as far as points per game, went down to 7.6. Drafted as wide receiver 37. That was actually really high for him, man. People actually reached for him. And that screwed them because he finished as wide receiver 54. He was unusable pretty much, Jason. Negative 17 in ranks, in rankings. Drafted as 37, finishes 54, negative 17.
Yeah, this was another guy I was really excited for going into 2023. I remember the first week of this year, people were asking questions about him, and he was playing against the Cardinals, and I'm like, he's a must start. You got to start him. He's going to tear it up.
He was your start of the week or whatever.
When Eric Bieniemy, I think he was. I think it was my start of the week in week 1, and then never again. Never again. When Eric Bieniemy was hired as the offensive coordinator, the first 2 players I thought about were Antonio Gibson. I was big on that guy this year. And Jahan Dotson. Both were failures. In 2022, Dotson was electric to watch. With Carson Wentz as quarterback, he had 7 touchdowns and scored 130 points on the year in only 12 games. This season, with Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator and Sam Howell leading the NFL in passing yards through week 12, I believe, he managed only 4 touchdowns and scored 124 points. So 6 points less, and he did that in 17 games. He somehow regressed. I did not think that was going to be that was possible for this guy. Dotson ended the season 3rd on team in targets, and 11 out of the 17 games he didn't reach his projected points. We have seen his potential in week 8, scoring 24 points, 8 receptions, 108 yards on 1 touchdown on 10 targets. But 1 20-point game does not prevent Jahan Dotson from being a bust this year. My 2024 outlook on him is that I believe he falls after round 10.
Yeah, and only people I've ever heard about taking the coaching job there have been like defensive coaches. Unless like Ben Johnson goes there or something, dude, I don't want anything to do with Dotson. I think I might take him super late. And then Jason, the next wide receiver, man, is the biggest disappointment. I know I don't want to spend too much time on him because we were hitting all the important ones, but this guy was the biggest disappointment in net production from points per game status, and the biggest disappointment in from ADP to finish status. Treylon Burks, dude, I had him his rookie year, and he had some really great games for me when Tannehill was healthy. 8.2 fantasy points per game. That dropped off all the way down to 4, and he was injured a lot. But even when it goes to points per game, man, even when he was healthy, he fucking didn't do anything. That is negative 52% in production there. And then ADP was drafted as wide receiver 46, so no real draft capital there. But dude, he finished as wide receiver 117, man. Negative 71 spots there. That is the largest drop-off in both categories for our wide receivers. So this year's biggest disappointment as far as sophomore wide receivers goes, Jason, is Treylon Burks. What do you think?
Yeah, you're right. What was he? The second coming of A.J. Brown. And in 2022, he did show splashes of greatness, but he only played 11 games due to injuries. And the same in 2023, 11 games played because of injuries. There was a moment in week 2 that Burks looked like he could be a fantasy relevance this year, but it went all downhill after that, where he only had, 0 touchdowns and only 16 receptions on the season. He's one of the biggest regressions in 2023. My outlook for 2024 is there are too many questions with the Titans team. I'm staying away from Burks next year.
Yeah, dude. I mean, even with Will Levis there, I think I bet you, I think Hopkins is still signed up, but I bet you they trade him halfway through the year next year. There is potential here. He's going to be a number 1 wide receiver on a team, for somebody. I mean, nobody thought Nico Collins was going to be anything, You got to take these number 1 wide receivers sometimes when you can get them. So I will probably draft him if he's available late enough. And then here we go, Jason, on to the second round wide receivers. These wide receivers were drafted in the second round of the NFL draft 2 years ago, pretty much. Christian Watson, man, out of South Dakota State. I was super high on him when he came out, and this fool cannot stay healthy. Jason, this guy literally is the same player this year and the second year. He did not get any better. 11.3 fantasy points per game his first year. The same amount of 11.3 fantasy points per game his second year. So the difference was that he was injured a lot more. So he was drafted, Jason, as a wide receiver 2 pretty much. Wide receiver 26. And then he finished the year as wide receiver 63. He had a couple startable games, but, that is a negative 37, and Jalen Reed is now coming on. I think Jalen Reed is the type of wide receiver that I want in this offense, and he is the sophomore that I would like to target to get that bump next season.
Woo! Yeah. After a disappointing start in 2022, Watson exploded in week 10 through 13, but don't worry. He did survive the explosion, but he averaged 24 points during a game during that span. Fantasy managers saw these weeks of excellence and saw his potential. Now, with a new quarterback in Green Bay, Jordan Love taking a while to kind of find his groove, and Watson dealing with injuries, he had a bust year, right? He was a bust this year. 6 out of the 9 games played, he missed his projected points. Week 12 and 13, he did manage to score over 20 points, but then missed the rest of the regular season. I believe there is a chance for Watson to do well next year with Jordan Love. Watson averages 3 yards of separation because that dude is fast. He is looked in the second level of the defense with 16 yards average of intended air yards.
Damn.
And at 1.8 average yards expectation above expectations, yards after catch. These are all great stats for Watson, but I am concerned with Jordan Love as has built more chemistry with the wide receivers who are actually playing and on the field with him. My 2024 outlook right now, it is the Jaden Reed show. I would get Watson probably near round 10 if I had to.
Yeah, Jalen Reed. I like that. And then, dude, Jason, that's a hot take, dude, saying Christian Watson round 10. I love that, man. That's going to be some good shit. I like that, Jason. All right, next up, I had this guy. I started this guy last season. He got 8 goddamn targets before the first half, broke his knee, I think, left the game. This is our first positive, Jason, another second-round wide receiver. He averaged 8.6 points per game last season. Hey, guess what, dude? He did that again this season, but he was healthy a lot more. So Wan'Dale Robinson, I mean, I think he's the maybe the wide receiver to own on the Giants. Who the fuck knows, dude? I like Jalen Hyatt, but that whole team has got a quarterback problem. But yeah, he was drafted as wide receiver 96. He finished as wide receiver 55, Jason. That is plus 41. That, if you think about it, that's huge. But when you're this far down, it doesn't make that much of a difference fantasy wise.
Right. He only played 6 games in 2022, but the game he got hurt in, he had 9 receptions, 100 yards on 13 targets. So the potential is there. Returning from a torn ACL, Robinson had 8 games under projected and 7 games above projections. Robinson was second on the team in targets after missing just 2 games. And he managed to do this with one of the NFL's worst teams with 3 different quarterbacks. Robinson's best 2-week span was week 17 and week 18, where he scored 19 and 13 PPR points. He also had a rushing touchdown in week 17 and a season high of 85 receiving yards in week 18. My 2024 outlook is that he can be a sneaky PPR play next year.
I think you're right, man. Because it's like for PPR, he's the guy to get. I mean, I just hate fucking Daniel Jones, so it's like I don't know what to do with it. And so, like I said, he is positive in as far as the ADP to finish, category. And Jason, there are only 4 wide receivers on this list. There's 14 wide receivers here. Only 4 of them actually scored positive. So the first one was Wan'Dale. Next up, Jason, we're gonna be super fast. I'm just gonna mention his name and that he's fucked, even though he's got CJ Stroud throwing the ball now. So Metchie was drafted. He was the highest second round draft pick. Jason, I can't remember his first name. Averaged 2 fantasy points per game his first season, 2 fantasy points per game this season. Who gives a fuck? But he was drafted as wide receiver 95, finished as wide receiver 133 because they've got Tank Dell, they've got Noah Brown. They're going to throw to anybody except this guy. This guy's going to be out of the league or at least off the Texans in a minute.
Well, Tyler, I do believe he didn't play his first season because he was doing chemo.
Well, you know what? I'm glad I'm a cancer survivor. So hey, I had cancer, dude. I am a cancer survivor. I got 1 testicle right now. I'm sitting on it. And it hurts real bad.
Yeah.
But so I do apologize to Metchie. But he had points per game on his first. He had to play a couple games, Jason.
Well, I'm looking right now, and I don't see anything for 2023 stats on ESPN.
Because I was like, that Foster Moreau had that cancer shit, but I was like, I didn't know about that Metchie. Anyways,
yeah, hey, he had it, but in the end, Tyler, like he even with CJ Stroud as your quarterback, he didn't really produce much this year, but look how far he is on the depth chart. In 2024, my outlook is like you could probably still look the other way because he's probably like 3rd or 4th on that wide receiver depth chart behind Stroud. If Schultz comes back, Tank Dell, Noah Brown, Robert Woods, I don't think he gets enough playing time.
And if you're out there, check your nuts because guess what, man? Testicular cancer is a lot more common than you think. All right, Jason. Thank you, Metchie, for those kind words. Thornton, this guy was, they drafted him last, they're like, oh yeah, we don't have any good wide receivers. We don't have any fast wide receivers. We're just going to draft the fastest wide receiver. I think it was Thornton. He just runs straight, Jason. The fucking Patriots don't even know how to use this guy. He regressed by 50%, man. So he actually had a decent first year. Not really, but 5.8 fantasy points per game. Down to 3 fantasy points per game this year. This year was terrible for the Patriots. Who knows? I mean, I do not like the O.J. Mayo hire. O.J. Mayo, that's not right. O.J. Mayo's a basketball player. Gerard Mayo hire. I'd want something totally different, man, especially for an offense and fantasy-wise. But yeah, dude, drafted as wide receiver 113. He still did worse. He was drafted as wide receiver 113, and he did worse than that. 140, so. Thornton, I'm not drafting anywhere.
Yeah, he's only played 21 games in 2 years. Thornton's average per game actually dropped from his rookie year. Thornton's best game in 2023 was week 17, where he scored an amazing, electrifying 5.4 points. My 2024 outlook is Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi are the guy's quarterback right now with a got another defensive coach they just hired. I am leaving him on the waivers.
All right, Jason, the biggest sophomore hit this season. Do you know who it is?
Romeo Doubs.
Technically you are correct, but fuck that. Because this guy was a wide receiver 2, and to go from to be a wide receiver 2 in your sophomore year is a big deal, really. So George Pickens, man, averaged 9.4 points his first year. That he upped up 38% to 13 fantasy points per game this season. Drafted as a wide receiver 3, so a flex at wide receiver 32. He could have went way later, Jason. But do you remember the preseason hype? Holy shit! The preseason hype got crazy. And he finished the season as wide receiver 22 in PPR, man. So I think he actually did. Thank God for Mason Rudolph, because he threw the ball to George Pickens. So it is a quarterback issue. It is not a George Pickens issue, Jason. Oh, lastly,
right.
Sorry.
And
he is the second wide receiver with a positive here. So plus 10, that is considered a level up, or whatever in some of these fantasy studies.
Yeah, he did have some big games this year. He had some low games, but I think Mason Rudolph, he had his biggest games with him. There was a lot of hype for George Pickens entering this season with all of the training camp videos and spectacular catches. And his quarterback, Kenny Pickett, was expected to have a big leap year as well. So he started to climb the fantasy draft boards. With the Steelers improving their offensive line and dominating preseason games, I was on that bandwagon. But it didn't work out for most of the year with 3 quarterback changes and a firing of the offensive coordinator, Matt Canada. Steelers offense struggled, and Pickens was under his projected points 11 times this year. But his best weeks is when he had Mason Rudolph, where he just absolutely killed it. And he did it at the perfect time, because it was the fantasy playoffs, right? He did that in the fantasy playoffs in week 16 and week 17. But then, he kind of did put a dud in week 18. But my 2024 outlook is as of right now, I'm kind of going to draft him in the same spot, possibly. But I would be kind of hard to believe if the Steelers stick with Mason Rudolph next year, or Kenny Pickett, or Mitch Trubisky.
Well, they asked him, is Kenny Pickett your starting quarterback next year? He said, yes, he is. But there will be competition. There's going to be competition for the starting job, blah, 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 blah. But if he is the quarterback again, and the season starts, I will be pushing Pickens down my list, dude, because he does not target Pickens.
You're absolutely right.
All right, Mr. Jason. Here's another one. This guy was here's another one of our positives as far as where you drafted him and where he ended up. Alec Pierce, Jason, ended up being the deep threat, kinda, for Gardner Minshew, because Josh Downs was injured quite a bit. So he was and I think of Alec Pierce not being a second round wide receiver. That fool was drafted in the second round. So I don't know. I just don't I think of him being a high value wide receiver, because I think Josh Downs was a third round wide receiver this year. So, but yeah, man. So Alec Pierce went from 7 points a game last year to 6 points a game this year. That's negative 14%. But he was drafted as wide receiver 91 and finished as wide receiver 70. So plus 21. That is great, but not really fantasy relevant. Maybe 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah. That was well said. Before his average points per game was dropping from his rookie year, this guy was on Fantasy Manager's radar in 2023. But I think the problem is the Colts drafting Josh Downs. Pierce had only 1 game over 10 points this season, and his ceiling is low with 2 games with 8 points in week 9. Oh, with 0 points in week 9 and week 18. My 2024 outlook is Josh Downs will be in his second year, and I expect Pierce to kind of still be fantasy irrelevance next year. I think it's going to be more of a Josh Downs taking over.
Well, Jason, Shane Steichen was not there when Shane Steichen did not draft Alec Pierce. So Shane Steichen did draft Josh Downs. I will be picking up Josh Downs later on, and I will have him ranked higher than Alec Pierce based on that alone. And let's see, Jason. So he was a positive. So we've got 3 of our 4 positives done so far. Next up, dude, this guy was the second biggest bust, Jason, even though he increased his productivity on a fantasy points per game. from 2.7 to 3.8. It's a 40.7% increase. You'd be like, holy shit. And he's on the Chiefs, Jason. Skyy Moore was hyped.
Oh.
I didn't want anything to do with Skyy Moore because I drafted him last year. I saw that fool. I was like, I wanted Rashee Rice this year. And Rice was the right person to draft. But man, Skyy Moore drafted as wide receiver 53, Jason. He finished as wide receiver 104. That is negative 51 spots. So that's only worse than Treylon Burks.
It was ridiculous how everybody was on the hype train for Skyy Moore, but the fantasy red zone did not understand why, and we stood our ground. It was all about Rashee Rice. And that's why he put. Everybody except the fantasy red zone was big on Skyy Moore, even after the Chiefs drafted Rashee Rice. Through week 18 in 2022, he averaged 2.7 points per game his rookie year, with only one game over 10 points. He had 22 receptions on the year. I'm still not quite sure what people saw. Maybe because of the Super Bowl game in 2022. I do not know. But in 2023, 13 out of the 14 games played, he did not hit his projected points. By 2024 outlook, don't bother me with Rashee Rice being there. Don't bother me with the Skyy Moore crap.
Oh, yeah, dude. So, like, in a year where they could not have any wide receivers, they were like, dear Lord, give us a wide receiver. Like, talk about opportunity, Jason. If you had any talent, man, like any talent, you would you'd be doing well there. So it's almost like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire situation, man. They drafted this guy, they can't fucking use him. Yeah, so negative. All right, Jason, here's the last one. This guy is the fourth win as far as 4 out of the 14, that's 28.5%. We'll talk about that in a second, why that is significant, Jason. But Romeo Doubs, we had to skip all the way to round 4 because there was really no wide receivers taken in round 3 that ended up being fantasy relevant whatsoever. Romeo Doubs, he actually scored, he had a lot of opportunity because there was no wide receivers there. Devontae Adams left. 8.5 points per game his first season. He upped it to 10.9 this season. That is an increase of 28.2%. And, dude, he was drafted as wide receiver 55, Jason. He finished the season as wide receiver 35. If Jalen Reed wasn't there, holy shit, this guy would have been a fucking huge hit. Plus 20.
Yeah, he is one of the biggest leaps with the second-year wide receivers. He scored 70 more points with Jordan Love than with Aaron Rodgers. And he was healthy for more games in 2023. Christian Watson started the 2023 season injured, and Doubs took advantage with 18-point games in 3 out of the first 4 weeks. After that, he kind of cruised and became more of a plug-and play. Doubs had 8 games under projected points, and 6 of those games came after week 9. And I believe it had something to do with Jaden Reed start to take over in the Packers wide receiver core. Doubs was 7th in the league for scoring fantasy points inside the red zone at 57.6 points scored. But guess what, Tyler? Jaden Reed scored 57.5 points inside the red zone. So he was a little bit under, and I do believe next year Jaden Reed will be scoring more points than Romeo Doubs in the red zone. My 2024 outlook, Doubs will lose those red zone opportunities to Jaden Reed, but I'd rather have Doubs and Watson in PPR formats.
Yeah, I think Doubs is going to be draftable, but Jalen Reed's going to be the wide receiver everybody wants, and then Christian Watson even might be probably go after that. So I think Romeo Doubs is going to be the 3rd wide receiver taken off the board for the Green Bay Packers, which is crazy. And it's crazy that there's 3 draftable wide receivers for Jordan Love, man. I was talking so much shit about Jordan Love, Jason. So anyways, looking at this data in a whole, for the last 10 years, Jason, on average, 28% of sophomore wide receivers have outperformed their ADP by, 6 or more slots. And then looking at this, we had 4 wide receivers out of 14 outperform that by that metric. That is actually lines up perfectly with the historical trend at 28.5. The thing where it does not line up, Jason, is that it is flip-flopped. All of these bottom wide receivers are the ones that outperformed. All of the good wide receivers that are supposed to be 42% hit rates was a 0% hit rate, Jason. So that is going to fuck up. That's going to skew so much of this data after this season when they enter this stuff in. But you can use this to your advantage And draft, man, like if the situation changes in any of these wide receivers on the top, London, Wilson, Olave, Dotson, maybe Treylon Burks, if that right situation happens, you can jump on it, Jason. So I think that is where it is so important, to look at this stuff after the season, where you can take advantage of the outlying years relative to historical trends, because all these players are going to have bad taste in people's mouths.
Do you have one that you're going to target for next season?
Oh man, I fixed my camera. That's nice. At the very end, Jason, I fixed my camera. If light gets in here at a certain angle, I start looking like I'm from the 90s. I don't understand this. But one that I'm targeting the most, I mean, dude, I feel like such an asshole saying it, Jason. Drake London. I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to push him on the rest of the fantasy community like I did this year. But I think personally, I'm going to try to get him. Probably just try to get me some Drake London.
Yeah, let's see what happens in the offseason with the Falcons.
Does anybody jump out on this list, Jason? That you?
Garrett Wilson. I'm a Garrett Wilson lover. I want him so bad.
And that's the thing, because I was like, I don't want to go out and reach for Drake London, but I bet you where he goes in drafts, I'll be like, yeah, I want that for that opportunity. Like, and then what were we talking about? Oh, Wan'Dale Robinson. When you started talking about it, Jason, I started thinking maybe even Treylon Burks, as I was just thinking about, because you were all about Nico Collins this year, dude, and I was like, fuck that, dude. So it's like, even though I don't believe in the quarterback, you still need to take shots on cheap wide receiver ones. Just like I took Raheem Mostert, Jason, this year. Like if you could just get that wide receiver one, that running back one late, just at least it's worth the risk. Just you can't overpay for it.
Yeah, it's all about the value.
Does that make you feel good, Jason? I'm all, man, you were all about Nico Collins this year.
Yeah.
Was it because you had a big hit?
I do have some breaking news.
What is it?
I have breaking news. Oh shoot, my phone. Titans finalizing deal to hire Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan as next head coach.
All right. Well, Treylon Burks, guess who's getting targeted now, Jason? Because they had, who throws to their fucking wide receivers a lot and doesn't run the ball a ton?
The Bengals, yeah.
I mean, you're coming from a team that just had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd being sustainable. So, dude, Treylon Burks is going to be interesting next year.
John Spears.
But also, if they might draft somebody like a Jamar Chase, they've got they're going to have a high draft pick. I don't know what their draft pick is, but they're going to be in that wide receiver range. So, depending on the situation,
they could probably.
So good call, Jason. You're like Adam Schefter over here.
I got my phones, man. I'm sitting here trying to keep up with.
Was that two phones?
Today's news, and
was it two phones or was it a clicker?
It was a mouse. It was a mouse.
You're like I got my badge right here.
Do it quick.
Are you a real cop?
I was trying to do it quick.
Dude, I was like, oh shit. All right, anyways.
I'm serious about this show, Tyler. I'm serious about this channel.
Do you have anything to add about the second-year wide receivers, Jason?
I'm looking forward to the second-year wide receivers are coming up in 2024.
Which is, like, off the top of your head is, like, what? JSN didn't get any opportunity.
Jaden Reed. Tank Dell. I am excited for Najigba. I want to see what happens to Mike Williams. Is he going to stay a Charger? Are they going to have to rely on Quentin Johnston?
Michael Wilson. Telling you, dude. Michael Wilson. All right. You're unfazed, Jason. You've got a kid. Now that you have a kid, you're just unfazed. You just sit there like this.
Because there's so much of a lag, and I'm just trying to concentrate.
Oh, really? I'm sorry, dude.
On what I. on what
I don't know why there's no
see
lag
and
for
like
me.
what I hear.
You're the host. I should be the one
I
lagging.
probably got to restart my internet. I should have done it, and I was thinking about it on the way home, and I forgot to do it.
All right. Anyways, everybody, that is the show. Just like Jason said, if you had second-year wide receivers, comment down below. Let us know how they did for you. If we're right, if we're wrong, tell us, if you agree with this or if we're just idiots talking into a camera, because that can be the case as well. Hey, hopefully we earned a thumbs up. Hopefully we earned a subscription. If you are not already subscribed, we need your help. We want to make this show the biggest fantasy goddamn show on YouTube, and that starts with you right now, subscribing. So please support us. Jason, send us out.
We got a video coming out Saturday morning. So I'll talk to you then. Deuces.
This is Fantasy Red Zone, and we appreciate you.